Chapter 27. My apologies. We have spent 2 years here doing nothing but patrol duty, so discipline is a bit lax among us. It's the alcohol talking. I hope you understand. There were many soldiers in the cavalry who were used to such a scene, most of them commoners, and they didn't say a word. Neither was the same. However, it was a bit surprising that the Paletta Knights, whom he had thought would uphold their knightly duties and say something, merely nodded without uttering a word. He had thought they followed Lord Kishir without bias, but he began to think that perhaps there was something more to them. Anyway, the soldier who guided us was named Sunz. Sunz? Sunz. Yudhir tried to recall from his memory someone with the name with our surname Sunz, but he couldn't quite remember. Just as he thought it might have been a misunderstanding, Sunz stopped in front of a building located in a less populated area. This is the lodging we prepared for you. It's small, but most buildings here are. It should be sufficient for a few nights' rest. Thank you. On behalf of everyone, Gakane expressed gratitude. Don't mention it, but if I may ask, the noble person who went with the General earlier, is he really Duke Paleta? Sunz asked cautiously, his face betraying an eagerness that he'd been trying to suppress. Yes, he is, the guide from the Paleta Knights answered simply, prompting Sunz to open his eyes wide in surprise. I knew it. My goodness, I never thought I would see a descendant of the sun god in my lifetime. You all are the Paleta Knights following him, right? Sun's excited gaze darted back and forth between the Paleta Knights and the cavalry members, failing to hide his excitement over his flushed cheeks. Yudhir saw the knight guide from the Paleta Knights looking back at him with a troubled expression, as if asking what he should reply. It seemed like he was having trouble deciding how to explain the yet unknown existence of the cavalry to Sunz, but there really wasn't anything complicated about it. Once this operation was over, the existence of the cavalry would naturally become widely known. High-ranking individuals, including General Gino, already knew of their presence here, so there was no reason to hesitate. Yudhir quietly opened his mouth. These 5 here are knights from the Paleta Knights, and we are the members of the cavalry. Yudhir. Gakane's eyes rose in concern and caution, questioning whether it was okay to reveal so easily, but Yudhir remained calm. By cavalry, do you mean the group that the emperor recently announced he was recruiting? Those who have gained power from the Red Stone. It's true then. Yes. I didn't expect to meet you so soon. There was no sign of aversion towards the cavalry in Sun's expression. He simply seemed genuinely fascinated, then looked at Yudhir as if something occurred to him. Ah, if you are those people, you should be careful when wandering around the village. Village? Why? Yudhir wondered. A look of confusion crept onto Yudhir's face, and Sunz scratched his face, flashing an awkward smile. Well, many of the resting soldiers possess abilities like you all. There was even one among those you saw earlier. What? Really? Both Eldor siblings exclaimed in unison. Their eyes sparkled with interest. Sunz simply nodded in agreement. Yes. The abilities aren't that extraordinary, but we have never seen others with abilities outside of our group. So, if everyone found out about you, it would probably cause a commotion. We have quite a few in our southern army who are crazy about fighting. Even so, why didn't those with abilities apply for the cavalry test? Kana asked in a puzzled tone. I don't think there was a rule that soldiers can't take the test. You are right, Sunz agreed with Kana's word. But just because there was no rule doesn't mean you can just rush in recklessly. There was no guarantee of success, and we are quite content with our current lifestyle. We thought there would be many others who felt the same way. Hold on, Yudhir sensed something in Sun's words. When one says we, it usually includes the speaker. Are you, by any chance, one of those ability users? Yes, Sun slowly nodded, seemingly realizing his slip up late. Yudhir, refined through many years, was somewhat skilled in detecting powerful individuals in his vicinity. But this didn't necessarily mean he had the precision of a magic user or an awakener with a direct detection ability. He hadn't sensed any formidable aura from Sunz, so the idea that Sunz was an ability user hadn't crossed his mind. Before either could ask about his ability, Hin with a look of curiosity beat him to it. What ability do you have? Really, it's nothing much, it's just a little thing. I can see what's hidden behind. It's hardly ability when playing cards. A vision ability user. At that moment, Yudhir finally remembered where he had seen the name Sunz before. Right, Sunz. So that was it. Just as Sunz had said, there certainly were awakened individuals who already had jobs. Among those who, despite having abilities sufficient to join the cavalry, chose not to, the majority were typically in the military. Around the time of General Gino Bordelli retired long time ago, they gathered and formed a new unit within the army. The man who became the leader of that unit was none other than the Sunz. It was a secretive establishment, so there wasn't even a proper inaugural ceremony. He had only heard about it through the military grapevine, but he remembered the name clearly. There was no doubt. The person who felt the most unpleasant surprise upon hearing of the unit's establishment was Yudhir himself, the representative of the cavalry, which was why he couldn't forget him. If my memory serves me right, his name is Sunz Masial, a special unit composed of awakened individuals within the military, remained low key, almost non existent from its establishment until the moment Yudhir died. Thus, Yudhir concluded that they were not a threat to the cavalry, but were created to separate from the regular soldiers in the military. He put aside his unpleasant feelings and focused on his main tasks. However, while imprisoned and facing death, Yudhir came to realize for the first time that perhaps he had been mistaken. The soldiers who had captured him, tortured him, and kept a constant vigil were not ordinary. Though the mana hole had been destroyed, rendering him unable to use his abilities or recognize other ability users, he knew the men watching them were not ordinary, considering he was once the commander of the cavalry. Those who captured him had kept a strict guard until his dying moment, fearing he might escape or regain a shred of his power. Even during his tortured, disoriented imprisonment, Yudhir desperately strained his ears, trying to hear what the others were saying. It was then that he picked up the name that of the special unit. The emperor no longer trusted the cavalry. The only place he controlled like his own limbs was the special unit. Due to their role in this great hunt, they would receive greater rewards, guarantees of honor and position. When Yudir heard these conversations whispered joyfully among the soldiers, all hope was lost. An intense premonition that there was no longer a way for him to survive filled him with bitterness. Of course, the great hunt they referred was Udrian Ale. He didn't know who had established that special unit that he had thought so little of, when or for what purpose. He couldn't identify where his information has been compromised. But now, if he met the representative of that special unit, things would change. The special unit had not yet been created, and its representative was stuck in some corner of the Ariak Mountains, a soldier as ordinary as they came. Now, in this condition, it would be easy to eliminate him in advance. If Sunz was killed, the future would definitely change. Yudhir tried to muster the strength to kill the man before him, but when he met the unambitious black eyes of the man looking at him, the power he gathered wavered and dispersed in an instant. Did I say something strange? Yudhir, what's wrong? You look stern. From beside the confused Sunz, Gakane patted his shoulder and spoke in low voice. Yudhir then sighed, feeling the last of his rage vanish. What was I thinking? During his life, he had killed many and made many kneel. His subordinates had called him a stubborn devil with nothing but brute strength. But even then, he had a few principles he had set for himself.